FBI busts massive basketball ring. 26 charged in global point-shaving scandal. Or the dark side of NIL. The FBI just dropped a bombshell. 26 people, including former NBA player Antonio Blakeney and dozens of NCAA athletes, have been charged in a massive game-fixing scheme. We go deep into the 70-page indictment to show you how fixers use the CBA and 17 NCAA teams to rig games for millions. Is this the end of college sports as we know it? Death, taxes, and Chinese basketball. Death, taxes, and Chinese basketball. That's what one federal fixer told his co-conspirators. He thought the game was rigged so perfectly that it was as certain as the IRS. But he was wrong. This morning, the FBI unsealed an indictment that has sent a shockwave through the sports world. 26 people charged, over 39 players implicated, at least 29 games fixed or attempted to be rigged. From the professional courts in China to 17 different NCAA Division I locker rooms right here in the US. This isn't just a small-time betting ring. This is a global conspiracy involving former NBA players, high-stakes gamblers, and student athletes who were bribed to tank for as little as $10,000. Today on PrimeTime Frontline, we are dissecting the 70-page federal indictment to show you exactly how they did it, who was involved, and why your favorite team might be on the list. This is the biggest scandal to hit college basketball in decades. The Masterminds, from the NBA to the fixers. So, who is behind this? The face of the indictment is Antonio Blakeney, a former Chicago Bulls guard who once averaged 20 points a game in the NBA. According to the FBI, Blakeney wasn't just a player, he was a recruiter. The scheme allegedly started in the 2022-23 Chinese Basketball Association season. Blakeney, playing for the Jiangsu Dragons, allegedly worked with fixers like Shane Hennon and Marvis Fairley to shave points. They would bet six-figure sums at casinos in Philadelphia, like Rivers Casino, knowing exactly what the outcome would be because they owned the players. The indictment says Fairley once left a package with $200,000 in cash in a Florida storage unit just for Blakeney. But when the CBA season ended, they didn't stop. They brought the operation to the United States. Their new target? The NCAA. The NCAA hit list. 17 teams under siege.
Several former DePaul Blue Demon basketball players are among former college athletes named in an indictment for a point-shaving scheme.
WGN's Jenna Barnes is following developments. She has more from DePaul's campus.
Well, this case spans the country. The Department of Justice accusing more than 39 players on 17 different NCAA men's Division I basketball teams of taking bribes to throw games for sports bettors.
This is a prosecution of the criminal corruption of collegiate athletics.
The fixers were smart. They didn't go after the LeBron James level superstars. They targeted what the FBI calls under-the-radar programs. Schools like DePaul, LaSalle, Tulane, and Kennesaw State. Why? Because they knew these players weren't getting the multi-million-dollar NIL deals you see at Duke or Kentucky. They looked for players where a $10,000 to $30,000 bribe would meaningfully supplement their income. At DePaul, fixers allegedly bribed players to underperform in a game against Georgetown. At Tulane, star forward Kevin Cross was allegedly offered $30,000 to ensure his team didn't cover the spread. Just yesterday, as this news was breaking, Kennesaw State's leading scorer, Simeon Cottle, was suspended indefinitely. The FBI alleges the fixers would reach out via social media or encrypted texts offering cash for bad games. If you were an underdog, they wanted you to lose by even more than the point spread. The infiltrator. But here is the part that should terrify every sports fan. The FBI didn't just stumble onto this. They had an inside look for 2 years. And while 26 people were charged today, the indictment mentions dozens of unnamed co-conspirators and student-athlete 1, 2, and 3. This means the FBI likely has recordings, bank statements, and cooperators who are still in those locker rooms right now. But wait until you hear how they actually caught them. It wasn't just a suspicious bet at a casino. It was a single text message sent during a timeout that blew the whole lid off the operation. I'll tell you exactly what that message said and who sent it in just a minute. How the scam worked. Point shaving 101. Let's break down the point shave. The fixers didn't always want the players to lose the game. They just wanted them to lose by a certain amount. If a team was an 8-point underdog, the player would be paid to make sure they lost by 12. Missed free throws, accidental turnovers, or picking up early fouls to get benched. It's nearly impossible for a casual fan to spot, but for a professional gambler, it's a goldmine. The FBI tracked millions of dollars moving through the Bet Rivers sportsbook in Philly. They watched as these fixers placed massive bets against the very players they were texting. The indictment even mentions Shane Hennon, who was already under investigation for a separate NBA gambling scheme involving Terry Rozier. These guys weren't just gamblers. They were predators of the game's integrity. The NIL paradox. Is this the end of college hoops?
This federal indictment comes down after a 3-year investigation into alleged points shaving inside college basketball. And according to court records, one of the individuals named in the indictment is former RMU basketball player Marquise Hastings.
We allege an extensive international criminal conspiracy of NCAA players, alumni, and professional bettors who fixed games across the country and poisoned the American spirit of competition for monetary gain.
The U.S. Attorney, David Metcalf, made it clear the fixers targeted players who felt left behind by the NIL era. We were told NIL would stop this, that giving players money would keep them away from gamblers. But the FBI is saying the opposite. NIL created a haves and have-nots system. If you're a star at a mid-major school, and a fixer offers you a year's worth of tuition in cash to miss a few layups, the temptation is real. NCAA President Charlie Baker is now facing a nightmare. 17 schools, 29 games. The credibility of the tournament is on the line. If fans can't trust that a missed free throw is a mistake rather than a bribe, the entire multi-billion-dollar industry collapses. The cliffhanger, the NBA Connection. This indictment is 70 pages long, but it feels like Chapter 1. While the focus today is on the NCAA and the CBA, there is a recurring name in these documents. Names tied to a separate FBI probe involving the NBA that we saw just a few months ago with Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier. The FBI warned today that there is nowhere to hide. As we speak, more phones are being imaged and more players are being questioned. The question isn't, is the game fixed? The question is, how many more names are on that list that the FBI hasn't unsealed yet? Because some of the fixers mentioned here have ties to locker rooms we haven't even talked about yet. What do you think? Is the NIL system failing these athletes, or is this just pure greed? Let me know in the comments. And make sure you're subscribed to PrimeTime Frontline, because we are tracking the court dates for Antonio Blakeney and the Big Six. You won't want to miss what comes out in Discovery.